The world needs transformational change, with countries cutting their greenhouse gas emissions much faster than under the Paris Climate Agreement, with the alternative being, quote, wide-ranging and destructive climate impacts. That message came from the United Nations Environment Programme on Tuesday in its Emissions Gap report. Lead author John Christensen said that under current national pledges to cut emissions, global temperatures are expected to rise by 3.2 degrees Celsius this century.
That's really a world you don't want to experience. And I think being a grandfather also, you don't want to leave that for your grandkids. I mean, you'd be ashamed of yourself if you knew the trouble they'll get into.
Christensen said the main concern is that under a 3 degrees increase, agricultural yield will significantly suffer, hitting areas like the African continent the hardest. Under the Paris Accord, governments agreed to limit global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees. Last year, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned of huge global changes if that target is not met, such as the loss of nearly all coral reefs and most Arctic sea ice. Inga Anderson, Executive Director at the UN's Environment Programme, said time has been wasted.
Had we acted in 2010, we would have had to reduce our emissions by 3.2% a year, by 3.3% a year. Now, because of climate procrastination, which we have essentially had during these 10 years, we are looking at a 7.6% reduction every year. Is that possible? Absolutely. Will it take political will? Yes. Will we need to have the private sector lean in? Yes. But the science tells us that we can do this.
The report was released ahead of a UN climate summit in Madrid, and on Tuesday, summit host Spain's acting energy minister, Teresa Ribera, criticised some nations for their lack of action.
The worst thing in a situation like ours is the silent complicity. I think it's the hardest part, and that is all around us.
The report named the United States, which has begun the process of withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, as one of the big greenhouse gas emitters, alongside Brazil and Japan.